So today we're gonna switch gears a little bit. We're gonna be working on dun 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 dun, the pilot. Seriously, I just had it. My wife tells me that it is doing something goofy, making a weird noise, and we want to make sure that the family whip is good and safe and all that fun, happy stuff. So we're going to be going for a test drive here shortly, just to see what's going on, and maybe we can diagnose something and maybe fix something. That didn't take long. After going for a test drive and pulling it in and out of the garage and waiting for the AC to, the compressor to cycle on and off, and both fans running with it under load in reverse, we were finally able to diagnose that the driver's side fan has a heck of a wobble to it. We found it. The fan has come in for the pilot, so we're going to be replacing that today. We're going to have to drain the coolant out because it's kind of a tight squeeze in there, and probably move a couple of brackets as well. So we're going to get started in on that. The first thing we're going to want to do is drain the coolant, and the reason we're doing that is so that we can pull this upper radiator hose off in order to wiggle this whole fan assembly out. We'll also need to disconnect the battery and the battery tray and a couple of ground wires and brackets in through here just to move stuff out of our way. And of course we'll have to unplug the fan here. So we're gonna get started on draining the coolant. There is a drain plug down underneath here, and we'll show you how to get to that and pull it out. You obviously need a catch pan to catch all the coolant, and usually a pair of either needle nose or angled pliers will reach up in there, and you can pinch onto the wing nut to drain out the coolant. We are underneath the passenger side. There's an access panel right here that you can pretty easily remove. And in order to get to the drain plug, which is up underneath here, you're gonna reach in there and just try to grab onto the drain plug. And just break it loose. Then you'll be able to reach up under and just with 2 fingers pull it and twist it counterclockwise until a little bit of coolant starts coming out of the drain plug. And it'll come right out of this hole here. And chances are it'll probably leak out the other holes and probably make a little bit of a mess. Once you get a few drops coming out through here, you can come up to the top side of things. And if you loosen this, it'll create a little bit of space to get air in there, and it'll start free flowing a lot better out through the drain plug. While the coolant is draining, we are going to remove the battery, usually 10 millimeters here, 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 and here, and then the wire comes down and hooks into these clips here. So we're just gonna remove that really quick. Now you don't need to take these 2 nuts the whole way off. They have hooks on the bottom side that hook into a battery tray. So once you get both of them a little bit loose, you can just rotate them 90 degrees in order to pull the tie down strap off. And we can just set that aside, save it for later. Then the battery comes right out. And then the tray, there's this wire clips into 2 spots there. battery tray just comes right out. Even though the coolant's still draining, I'm pretty confident that it's drained below a level to where I can safely remove this hose. So I'm just going to tighten this down, and then I'm going to tighten up the drain plug on the underside of the radiator just to stop it from draining out. Now that the coolant is drained and the battery is out, we can disconnect the grounds and the ground bracket just to move the wiring out of our way so that we can more easily pull the fan up and out. These are just two 10 millimeters, one here and one down here. So now that bracket and that wire can just get tucked out of the road. Next, we're going to disconnect the fan. Say button right here. Push in and pull out. It also has a little tab right in through here that will probably break whenever you try to pull it out. And now the fan's disconnected and the wire's out of the road. Now we can reach in and disconnect the upper radiator hose. These can be kind of a pain in the butt to get off sometimes. Sometimes you need to grasp it with a pair of channel locks or pliers up top and twist it a little bit, or get a hook in behind it and just try to break it loose. Sometimes with a little bit of luck, you can just kind of twist them to get them to come off. And once it twists, you can just kind of wiggle it back and forth and pull it off. Now we can just tuck this underneath the intake hose just to get it out of the road. Next, we're going to remove the two 10 millimeter bolts here and here on the upper part of the fan. They're located right on the top side of the radiator. Those are the only two bolts that hold the fan in. On the bottom side, it has two prongs that go down into grommets in order to hold the fan in against the radiator. Now that we have it loose, we just need to wiggle it out. It's a tight squeeze. The points that you're going to run into troubles are here, along here, and then down here where this lead comes up and the lower radiator hose are going to be the problems, because it'll want to pinch it up against the front of the back side of the radiator and those points there. So it can be kind of difficult to get it out. But you need to move it over to this side first to clear everything on this side, and then pull it up. And clear it on the driver's side over here. And with a little persuasion, the fan comes out. Before I get too carried away, I do want to test this unit to make sure that it is working properly before I go through all the trouble of putting it back into the car. So I've just hooked up two insulated leads here, and I'm just going to touch it to the battery. And it is working very well. Perfect. We're now ready to put the new fan back in after testing it. What I've done is I've taken this clip right here and just disconnected it. You can do that with a pair of little needle nose pliers, squeeze it, and that'll just make this move out. Even an inch makes the biggest difference in the world whenever you go to put this guy back in. So you just want to gently kind of set it down in there. You want to be careful that the bottom portion doesn't push against the front side of your radiator, because you don't want to damage the cooling fins on your radiator. Now the biggest area you're going to have troubles with is this corner right here. You're going to need to kind of get this side over top of this support and then lift up on your hood latch release cable, get it underneath the angled bracket, push it over, and it'll make a click sound as it leaves this side, and the fan's in. So what we want to do now is we want to take the bottom 2 tabs that fit down inside the radiator, get those lined up, and then we can start the install process and putting bolts back together. Yep, good to go. Since this little wiring mounting tab snapped off whenever I was pulling it out, I'm just going to take on the upper portion of the fan assembly a zip tie and just wrap it around there, just so that that wire's not flopping around in there, especially next to a spinning fan motor. So just going to secure it doing that. You never want loose wiring around where you're going to have fast spinning parts. I'm just going to be putting stuff back together in the opposite order of which it was taken apart. All pretty straightforward. Now that we have everything buttoned back up and the hose is reattached, we're obviously going to want to put our coolant back into the radiator. So we're almost finished putting the coolant back in the car. What we'll do now is we're going to start it up and we're going to let the water pump turn the coolant and let it circulate through the system, and it'll bleed out any air bubbles. And once this level goes down to a point where we can put the cap back on it, we'll put the cap back on there, and then we will take whatever excess fluid is left in the pan and we'll put it into the overflow reservoir. Welcome back. My funnel fell off, spilled coolant all over the place, so it's just going to need to evaporate off, I guess. Made a mess of things, but what can you do? You try so hard to keep it neat. It happens, I guess, right? There are 2 ways to check and make sure that your fan is working properly, and that is 1, to let the car run, reach operating temperature, let the thermostat open, and then whenever it calls for it, the computer will turn on the fan to cool down. Or you can take a shortcut and you can put on your defrosters and it should click right on. Of course, the last thing that you want to do is to check for leaks once it gets up to operating temperature and you double check that the fan is working. So double check for leaks down where the drain plug is and where you took off the upper rad hose and up top here. And if you're not an idiot like me and spill it all over the place, you shouldn't really have any leaks underneath at all. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.